Welcome back to Yoshi Entertainment, everybody. So just recently, Jonathan Majors, he had a little sit-down interview, if you will, and his first public appearance after everything that has happened. A lot of people have been making their own videos, putting out their own takes on what he said, basically. And quite honestly, I have some mixed feelings about this sit-down, and it's just me personally. I put what I feel personally out there, and I ask for people to have an open mind, not to jump to conclusions, not to put words in my mouth, not to assume that I mean something malicious when I really don't. And I'm just putting out there what I really feel is the truth, because there's a lot of people, I feel like they gaslight us. I really do feel like that. And I also feel like sometimes people like to play in our faces, and I don't appreciate that at all. But anyways, like I said, please keep an open mind and be mindful that this is how I feel deep down inside personally. This is what I see whenever I see these kind of situations. I have to talk about these situations the way I see it, the way I feel it. Other people are going to do them on their YouTube channels, on their podcasts, wherever they're talking about this situation. I have to do me. So I'm just saying, give me that same grace you would give anybody else. Once again, be open-minded. Let's not be quick to be offended, for whatever reason. Just be open-minded and just hear me out. Now, I think two things, well, more than two things really can be true at once. I think that the way they handled that entire situation, that entire trial, was crazy, definitely. Even though I know how they like to run things down there at Hollywood, especially with these little trials, especially when it comes to certain people, black people, that trial actually threw me for a loop. I'm gonna be real honest, but at the same time, I wasn't surprised because why again? We know how these kinds of things work in Hollywood. We know whose side they're going to take. Now, where I'm struggling, I'm gonna be real honest, to wonder why he was surprised is he should know better than anybody. He's in Hollywood. He's a black man who was with a white woman. There are certain stigmas surrounding those kinds of unions. Y'all know that I've said this before 1,000 times. I hate stereotypes, I hate generalizations, and I hate stigmas. But we have to admit there is a stigma surrounding that kind of union in Hollywood, unfortunately, that worked against his favor. We have to admit that. But like I said, I'm still a little bit confused as to why he would be that surprised by this, considering that he's on ground zero, if you will. He's right there in Hollywood. He should know. He's seen some things happen to some people before him, read between the lines. He should have seen this coming. Now, I'm not saying that he deserved it or whatever, because people are real quick to put words in your mouth. Like I said, if you're not immediately butt kissing these people or standing up for them despite whatever they've done, I am saying that he should have seen this coming. We all should have seen this coming, really. But nonetheless, I'm not going to sit up and mock people or act like people are crazy for going, wow, this is crazy. Literally, she was the aggressor in the situation. He got in trouble for trying to get her away from him because he used a little bit too much oomph, if you will, during the push when he pushed her in the car to get her away from him, and she actively pursued him down the streets of Manhattan. Now, I also understand that she came up with some other alleged evidence where, like I mentioned in the previous video that I made about this, how she claimed that he threw a candle at her or towards her direction in a heated argument or whatever, and that she had a picture of the dented wall. That could have been anything really, but these are the allegations that she's making. But he also even admitted himself that he had a temper. Like, I don't think people understand this or they want to admit it. There was a lot of admissions that he made in those statements when he sat down during that interview. Now, he admitted, y'all, this was his very words, that he was reckless, not with her body, but with her heart. We all know how to read between the lines of what he was saying. I don't know why he's speaking like he's writing a poem or something like that in like the early 1900s, but that's neither here nor there. If we all know how to read between the lines, which I'm assuming that we all are capable of, then we can interpret that as, and this is not me coming up with something, this is literally what came out of his mouth, but in a more coherent way, that while he didn't put his hands on her physically, and I'm not denying the fact that he was, that he had a temper, which he admitted out of his own mouth, he was very reckless in his treatment towards her emotionally. That's basically what he said. Also did a quick rundown, a summary, if you will, of what happened that night with the phone, her snatching it out of his hand, all this stuff, that it happened really fast. And they were asking him, okay, well, how did those injuries happen? Did you twist her arm behind her back and all this other kind of stuff? Lacerate her ear and break her pinky. I don't know where that came from, but my goodness. And he said, well, I wish I knew. And even I said that was a little bit shady because there was a time lapse somewhere. I'm not real quick to be like, oh, this person is lying unless it's blatantly clear for me. But there was a shady time lapse, I'm going to be honest. And whenever she went to the house, which anything could have happened, and she apparently, allegedly, took some pills, allegedly, got drunk again, and then blacked out. Anything could have happened during that time. She could have fell down the stairs. She could have been trying to get to the bedroom, and she could have fell and hit the wall, and he was off somewhere else. And then she wakes up and then she has these injuries and then she blames him. It could have very well been because she was angry at him because of the text messages and was trying to get back at him. Now, did that negate everything that he said and allegedly did and makes him completely innocent? Oh, of course not. And I feel like people need to, remember that, but I'm not going to, keep going over that over and over again. Now, here's my problem with the response to all of this, especially with the black community. I feel like with the black community is a community of hypocrites. Yeah, I said it, because I feel like if the roles were reversed, the response to this situation and that little sit-down interview he had would have been starkly different. Now, let me just create a scenario so I can help you understand where I'm going with this. Let's say that it was Miss Jabari, who was the one who was the famous actress instead of Jonathan Majors. He was the one who had the alcoholic problem that he clearly needed help with. And then she had made a comment along the lines of, well, I need you to be more like John F. Kennedy because you're not making the same sacrifices that I'm making. You're not measuring up to the kind of man that I need you to be for the kind of woman that I am. I'm a great woman and I deserve a great man. Would we have the same smoke for Jonathan Majors that we have for this white woman when he said that to her? I don't believe with all of my heart that the black community would. In fact, I believe that the response would be something along the lines of, well, instead of kicking the brother while he's down, you should be uplifting him. You should be praying for him. You should be helping him get to rehab and trying to help him break his addiction. Don't you see he's got a problem? You should speak life into him. They would not be calling him all kinds of names that they called this woman, basically saying that, oh, well, it's not his fault that he didn't want to be with some woman who couldn't live up to his expectations, a drunk white woman, basically. Like, I'm trying to get people to understand that the way we've looked at this situation is a bit messed up. I think just a little bit, all because they want to see a certain person in a certain light. And two other things that, go along with that. One, I also don't believe with all of my heart that they would have the same energy and support for Megan Good if she was in Jonathan Major's shoes. I really don't believe it. You can call me what you want to, but I just don't believe it. And second of all, the Coretta Scott King thing with her being compared to this woman, this is what I was talking about, people playing in our faces and gaslighting us, which I don't appreciate. Okay, like that will bring out the pettiness in me tenfold. People kept saying, oh, he was talking about character. He wanted somebody like Coretta Scott King in character. Once again, that's a load of bull crap. Because you want to know what made Coretta Scott King like Coretta Scott King in character? Black excellence. And it's real hard to have black excellence without the black part of the excellence. I'm just saying. And another thing that I don't like, why do they keep bringing up Miss Coretta Scott King? Like, I feel like it's disrespectful to use her in that kind of regard, if you ask me. It just rubs me the wrong way. I don't like it. Quite frankly, I wish that MLK could come back from the dead just one time and pull a Will Smith and tell that man to leave her name out of his mouth. Because why is he bringing her into this tomfoolery? It's not right. Like, I don't think y'all realize how disrespectful it was for him to say that, especially to that white woman. I made this comment before. It was disingenuous to her, and it was wrong in general, because that would mean he's not getting with her for the white woman that she is. And if that was the case, why did he get with her then? Like, that seems to be a question that nobody wants to answer. Everybody wants to gloss over it. Y'all are saying is y'all are making all these excuses and justifications for him because he's Jonathan Majors, but why did he get with her if that's what he wanted? Once again, I don't believe that it would have went the same if the roles were reversed. Once again, if she had pulled a I need you to be like JFK, everybody in the black community would have been like, how dare you say that about Jonathan Majors? He's not supposed to be like some white man. He's black. They wouldn't have been caring about she meant it in character. Because everybody knows deep down inside, that's a load of bull crap. We all know it. But of course, like I said before, we take up for who we want to, when we want to, why we want to. One last thing concerning that situation that I wanted to point out that he said, allegedly, unless I was listening to another interview that somebody else was sitting down with him with, he said I shouldn't have been in that car. I shouldn't have been in that relationship. I shouldn't have stepped out of the relationship. I should have stepped out of that relationship. Again, read between the lines. I shouldn't have been with her. I should have exited that relationship, stage left. I shouldn't have been doing stuff like texting other people and receiving text messages from other people talking about, oh, I can't wait to put my lips on you, while he was in a relationship with this woman. And I've heard people say, oh, well, even if he would have tried to break up with her, she seemed like the type who would probably explode and still do something like this to try and keep him from leaving her. And those people are absolutely right. That could have absolutely have happened. But once again, this is why I advocate so hard for y'all being very careful who you choose to give your heart to, who you choose to lay down with, who you choose to be with. If you make the mistake and choose somebody crazy to get into a relationship with, and that's not me trying to make that much of a jab towards that woman, but if you choose to get with somebody who got problems, whether you knew they had problems or not, at the end of the day, that was a decision that you unfortunately made. I'm not saying you deserve whatever came out of it. I'm just saying those are the unfortunate consequences you just gonna have to deal with because of a decision that you made that you should not have made. It still should not have stopped him from doing the right thing, which was to break up with her, get away from her, put distance between the two of them, even call the police if that's what he had to do to get her away from him if she wanted to go crazy, and then start dating whoever it was or messing with whoever it was in those text messages. But if you ask me once again, I think him saying that was an admission that he was in the wrong for doing that, which a lot of people, for some reason, well, I say for some reason, but I done already said that the black community is very hypocritical and they excuse what they want to for who they want to when they want to. But that was his way, if you ask me, of saying that he was wrong for doing that and that he shouldn't have done that. And if he would have done the right thing, he probably wouldn't be in this situation to begin with. It would have taken nothing away from him to do the right thing. I'ma always beat that dead horse. Let me put that out there right now. For anybody who might not like it, I'ma always say it. It wouldn't have taken anything away from him to do the right thing in that situation, in that moment. And if he would have, he wouldn't have been dealing with, on top of the fact that dealing with this woman and getting away from her and what she did, he wouldn't have also been dealing with looking like a horrendous boyfriend, because while he was out here, like he said, being reckless with her heart and not her body, he was also allegedly cheating on the woman, which only added fuel to the fire. Like I said before, it's only smart to not add fuel to your own fire and make things worse for your own self. But anyways, I said this before somewhere, but I'll say it again, or I think I hinted at it. He must have stepped on some toes somewhere along the way and got into some deep trouble, and that's why this is really happening to him. Other than the fact that, once again, you can't be a certain color, go certain places, and do certain things. I said this before, I'm gonna say it again. We all, both black men and black women, need to follow the Denzel Washington blueprint. I don't know when black people as a whole are gonna realize that we can't do everything everywhere with everybody and be yoked up with some of everybody and still be successful. It's just not gonna happen. And if you think it is, you're delusional. And I do hope that you get spiritual and mental, both clarity and help, expeditiously. And I'm gonna say this again for the people in the back who don't like to listen that well. This goes for both black women and black men. And by we have to be careful with who we hang out with, yoke ourselves up with. That doesn't just go for your romantic partners. That also goes for your friends, your family members, the people who you hang out with, who you decide to follow, be led by, your managers, whoever it is. Like I said in the previous video, if you feel a certain kind of way, talk to God about it. Y'all let me know what y'all think and how y'all feel about all of this, respectfully, down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I may make a very short podcast about this little situation on the Patreon. Y'all have a nice, blessed, and safe day.